Yeah, it just looks like cloud cover all day around here. Yeah, we're really expecting this line of convection to break up and then turn into a few supercells. It's just going to be a messy storm mode today. Looks like the RRFS really explodes portions of Oklahoma after 7 p.m. tonight. It looks like the main threat for today's chase is going to be prior to 7 o'clock for Iowa. It's going to be the most of it is going to be this area of convection that we're in right now. But this area of convection is expected to start breaking up and turning into more supercellular development. Tulsa is going to probably get some good storms today. There is no doubt about that. And thank you guys all once again so much for all your donations through PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, and Super Chats today. I have not gotten a chance to take a peek at things, but thank you guys so much for your support in whatever ways you guys decide to support. Whether it's just smooshing that like and subscribe button, donating through Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, or the Super Chats. However you guys support, it is greatly appreciated, guys. Trying to start my day off right. I'm drinking my orange juice before I have any caffeine. Getting out ahead of it, getting closer and closer to Decatur right now. The shelf cloud behind us is looking absolutely gorgeous, and there's still plenty of inflow into this thing, believe it or not. Still actually a lot of inflow into this thing. Alright, it's time to ask that question. Where is everybody watching from today? I want to hear it. Germany, that's not common. The Netherlands. course, Ohio's always representing. Ohio's always got to be repping out here. Come on, guys.
We've got some delays out there at the country's airports. In fact, out of the 3,000 flights that are en route, we've got 3,000 flights en route, but we've also had about 1,200 flights that have delayed. 75 cancellations. Honestly, that's not that bad when you think about these big populous airports across the East Coast. The worst of the delays have been at JFK, Philly, and in towards Baltimore, and the cancellations, 11 in Newark. You can see that on a normal day in Newark anyway. The top airlines with delays, Southwest with most, then United and in towards Delta. But overall, we've got the windy conditions, and that's going to be the things that's causing most of our problems. Rain obviously is in place. The rain hasn't been that heavy just yet across the Triborough, across places like Newark, in towards LaGuardia and JFK. We've got the rain, temperatures in the 50s, winds gusting into the lower 20s so far. We do expect to see those winds climbing up a little bit, and we have 251 flight delays overall in the New York area airports, 19 cancellations between those three big airports, Newark, LaGuardia, and JFK. JFK right now, 60 degrees, a little bit warmer, winds gusting to 31 degrees, and about 12% of your flights at JFK that have been disrupted so far. About 5 flights total canceled. Travel troubles today, Philly, New York, also down towards Orlando and Baltimore. That's where we're seeing our action. We're going to see delays throughout the day today, but moderate delays, I think, to be expected. There will be some flights, I think, that are going to get out and make it their way.
Hours of love from you. All the right parts from us. With eBay Guaranteed Fit.
Our first big rainfall of the season coming, going to help with those fires that have been to the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, we hope so. And by a little behind the scenes stuff, Rick is up there. He doesn't know what graphic is coming next. He's butter. He's pushing a button or whatever he comes up, he talks about. he's so good. I love working with him.
I don't know if that's a good stuff.
It's so
Just
true.
talk about what you see, Bob.
Exactly. Well, I do know this. We've got a brand new tropical depression. It's 17. You can see right there. We knew all morning long it looked a lot better on the satellite imagery, at least the core. We've got some thunderstorms developing. We also have a nice little outflow. You can see the circle right here. Maybe a little drier air trying to work its way in on this direction, but it still looks like a healthy storm, and it's on its way into turning into most likely Philippe, and that will be later on. So here is the path. You're going to have 40-mile-per-hour winds by tomorrow morning. You're talking about that being a tropical storm that would be Philippe, but there is that right hook off the tee box. So that's good. It's actually a slice. We don't want to see that get anywhere near Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, British Virgin Islands, Turks and Caicos, Bahamas. You don't have to worry about this one. Even Bermuda at this point, it looks like it's going to steer away from you. Tropical cyclone ingredients, we've got it. We've got thunderstorms developing right across the middle part. We've got nice outflow, and we've got some warm water. We see the darker shade of orange. That's where you start seeing the mid-80s right here. I mean, this is super warm water right here, but I don't think it's going to make it. Notice the blue shading region. That is in the wake of Lee. We still have some upwelling going on right here as well. We don't have to worry about any real big, monstrous development out of this thing, at least for the next couple of days. But watch it with the exclusive Fox model as it moves on in. There is some hostile air up to the north. We're talking about upper levels. We've got a lot of humidity out here also. However, we do have that dry air that's starting to gulp in, and you saw what it looked like on that satellite picture. Looks like it's on the other side. So we are watching this storm as the next possible tropical depression to now storm as a possibility. Talking about Philippe, but 17 already. How about that? And we only got 6 more names left to go. Probably 5 after this afternoon.
I love looking at that sea surface temperature map, because you can see that not just Lee, that was Franklin and Idalia that also caused some of that upwelling. And then you can see Margot and you can see Nigel also.
It's amazing.
You just like the footprints left of tropical systems that moved across. And those are the only spots where water temperatures
really cool.
are below average.
And I'm amazed at the Atlantic. It really hasn't recuperated yet. It hasn't warmed up that much.
I thought it would have mixed back in pretty quickly.
The Gulf of Mexico, we know it does almost instantaneously, but there you go.
All right, well, let's bring in Jane. Today's the first day of fall, but we've got a lot of tropical activity generally still ahead of us this time of year. So we've got officially over 2 months left. things start to taper off, but as we get to this latter part of the Atlantic hurricane season, we can still see some really major storms. So let's talk about some of these October storms. And there's one big one that comes to mind, and that's Sandy.
Yeah. Listen, Sandy's the top one that anybody thinks about. I think from New York City to New Jersey, I mean, obviously New Jersey took what we consider the landfall from Sandy, which was no longer a hurricane. We saw that transition just before, and that was some of the key messaging concerns that you had, because Sandy was still a massive storm. It's why it's really designated Superstorm Sandy now, because of how far-reaching the impacts were between storm surge, between coastal flooding, winds, power outages. And for where I'm standing right down the road, I mean, Breezy Point, not only did we take such an impact from the storm surge and the flooding, but the fires that happened there that made it difficult. I mean, it's one to go down in history. And again, this one coming late October. And I remember also, too, around Sandy, not only did we have a cleanup from Sandy 2 weeks later, then a big snowstorm came in. So, I mean, that was an epic year. But we've had big storms in October that you really just need to make sure that you're staying aware. Don't let your guard down now that we've turned the season over from summer.
Yeah, we've got a couple other ones out there. Rick, Wilma back in 2005. That was on October 15th. Remember
and that raked the coast of Mexico, Yucatan Peninsula, and then came back in towards Florida.
Yeah.
You know, when storms in the month of, once we get to later September and October, when they form, you can see in October they can kind of form anywhere, but the storms that form farther out in the Atlantic oftentimes curve off to the north, like what we're about to see happen with Philippe. And that's because you get these fronts that move off of the East Coast, and that creates a weakness in the Bermuda High, and it allows those storms to move towards the north. The storms, so we start to see form a little bit closer to the coast, and that means if they form closer to the coast, a better chance of impact across some sort of a landmass, either Central America, Mexico, or in towards the U.S.
You always have to watch the tail end of a cold
and
front.
Also, too,
that's where they form, like right up the coast, like this one just
like
now.
this one right now.
right, which like what we saw with Ophelia, those are going to be the sneaky ones that we have to watch, but also too down towards the Caribbean. I mean, you think of Ian, right, from last year. Sandy even, I mean, you had the development that was out towards the Caribbean, the Lesser Antilles, that starts to get kicked up there and then travels up the coast. And those sometimes have proven to be some of the more stronger storms.
Yeah, so we've got a ways to go here, but the point is we're getting into the part of the season where if stuff forms, it's generally closer to the U.S., which means, you know, they can potentially be more dangerous for us.
Which is, that's what we have to watch. And we had Mitch, I remember Opal back in 1995. That was the first week of October, so we are not done. That one, we're right across the Pensacola area. All right, we've got other stuff we're watching. It's not just the tropics out there. We've got some severe weather. Rick was pinpointing it earlier before. It's this area that's shaded in red. We've got a nice upper level low that's parked out across the Dakotas. It is edging over to the east, and as that happens, it's going to drop a cold front down, and that means more thunderstorms, and that means powerful ones later this afternoon. The daytime heating is going to occur. We're going to see the showers and storms develop. Here's what it looks like by Sunday. It begins to thin part just a little bit, but the rain is still going to be out there, hugging around that upper level low. Bismarck, temperatures in the comfortable mid-60s, but the rain's out there. Minneapolis, 69. Look at Des Moines, 77. Chicagoland, you'll start seeing that rain edge in by later on Sunday evening, but most of the day ought to be dry. And then you have that atmospheric river we're saying is about ready to shape up. Here we are Saturday afternoon. Seattle starts out pretty well. Here comes the rainfall. You can see it right there, 64. Portland, 64. Spokane, about 65. Sunday, the rain comes back, and it really is the first big rainmaker of the season. And like Rick said, we have all kinds of fires breaking out right here. We need the rainfall. It's definitely going to help. Maybe some flooding on the burn scars. That's something we'll have to watch, but the temperatures be kept down into the mid-60s. As for today, you see it looks around the down south, 99 degrees in Phoenix, Southwest looking good. LA, 76, Las Vegas, 84 degrees, Salt Lake City, 72. Maybe some pop-up showers around the mountains, northern Arizona. That's about it. No flooding rains by any stretch. And by Sunday, we start to heat things up as high pressure settles back in. Look at Phoenix up to about 101. Salt Lake City, 80. Las Vegas, 90 degrees. We're watching that for Sunday afternoon. So the weather, it looks pretty good across the West Coast. Middle part of the country, though, not so good. We've got all kinds of showers and thunderstorms, too. So that's going to be a big issue coming up. Hey, we're tracking the tropics. We've got a brand new number storm out there. Could be Philippe. Where's that going to go? We'll show you that, plus tropical storm Ophelia. It's in North Carolina, bringing a lot of heavy rain. We've got it all coming for you in just a little bit. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to Fox Weather, everybody. I'm Bob Van Dillon, along with my buddy Rick Reichmuth, and we've got a live shot right here from Washington, North Carolina.
Yeah, getting some good video that's starting to come in. I think this is coming to us from Mark Sudduth, who set up all these cameras. He has this great business where he puts cameras into places that you probably can't get a live shot out of, and you got to, can't make sure you're not necessarily protected, but he straps them to a tree or to a post and then goes back and gets the video out afterwards.
Check out the geese.
Wow.
Big migration right here, at least by foot.
I guess they don't mind salt water.
No.
I assume it's got to be salt water.
Yeah, that's the Pamlico River right there. So they were expecting a 3 to 5 foot surge, and look, that's actually happening. Look at this wind coming through.
Yeah, and I don't know when this was taken, but I think they're going to have their next high tide cycle coming in about within the next 2 hours.
Oh, so there you go.
And so we're going to probably see, because the wind hasn't changed direction much at all. We're going to keep seeing that onshore flow pushing water in, and then we get this next high tide cycle, and that's probably where we're going to see some pretty dramatic
Worst
flow.
part, too, you're getting a lot of rain. Like you just said, 6 to 8 inches of rain, so that filters into the rivers also. So that's going to be a hard time to get that to actually go down. Wind's got to stop, rain's got to stop.
Yeah, we're looking at the tide cycles, and I think the water levels overall are going to stay above average probably until Tuesday or Wednesday of this coming week.
Makes sense.
So.
Tropical storm coming up, no doubt. The East Coast is getting slammed right now. Flooding is expected from the Virginia coast all the way down through North Carolina into the Northeast as well. Like Rick said, it's probably going to last through tomorrow. Fox Weather's Nicole Valdez is live in Norfolk, Virginia with more. How's it looking out there right now? No, it looked a little bit okay the last time we saw you. Has it gone downhill?
Hey, Bob. Hey, Rick. Hey, we've got different times where the rain is getting a little heavier, where the wind picks up a bit. But truly, I don't know that we've seen the most intense conditions that we are expecting maybe later this afternoon, especially around high tide. We're looking at that to be around 4 this afternoon, and city leaders here are expecting potentially 6 feet in the rivers and bays that surround Norfolk, which is really where that flood threat becomes top of mind here, because you recognize that such a low-lying coastal area, not a lot of elevation, that is surrounded by several bodies of water, is going to be especially susceptible to not only tidal flooding, but mixing that in with maybe significant rain could spell trouble for the area. Now, I want to point out that Old Dominion is now under a state of emergency that was declared yesterday ahead of Tropical Storm Ophelia's landfall earlier this morning, and that's when city leaders decided to take action. They closed the floodgates that surround cities like Norfolk. I'll show you some video here because you'll notice some are bright green. You have those signs that say, these floodgates will close if we start to see dangerous flood levels or a potential storm that could make things dangerous in terms of that flooding. Now, apparently the city starts to think about closing those gates at around 5.5 feet in terms of water levels in the river. So 6 feet at high tide is going to be definitely a concern. But these gates are meant to minimize the amount of water, of course, that could come into the city and start to flood those roads. And they've even opened up parking garages, telling people, hey, if you park in an area that tends to flood, go ahead and move your car free of charge into these higher areas to get it to higher ground. So those are things that people are aware of that can and maybe will happen here. So they take those measures long before the storm starts to really move in. But unfortunately, we are still seeing some reports come in of damage. I mean, we're talking about 14,000, nearly 14,000 across the state of Virginia that are already without power. There are some roads that we've started to see some flooding. There are power lines that are getting reports that are down in different areas. Meanwhile, the ports in Wilmington and Morehead City are also closed to inbound traffic, guys. So there's a lot of impacts that are being felt by this storm, and decisions really that were made long before, and maybe even long before now, but really where we're looking at seeing some of the worst of this could be later this afternoon.
Wow. Yeah, Nicole, you're not even in the core of the stuff yet, and once it does get there, you better have some shelter, I'm hoping, because that rain's going to not stop for a while. So, yeah, stay dry out there. Nicole Valdez, great job. Thank you very much. All right, Ophelia officially made landfall in North Carolina earlier this morning as it continues to push its way up the Mid-Atlantic. We want to check in on New Bern, North Carolina. That's where the strongest winds are not letting up yet. Joining me now is the mayor of New Bern, North Carolina, Jeffrey Odom. Jeffrey, how are you? It looks like you're dry inside. How are things shaping up so far?
I am dry inside right now, Bob. Appreciate you having us on this morning. It's certainly a late night for us and an early morning for our staff, but they've done a phenomenal job. getting prepared for the storm and addressing the issues that we've been faced with a little bit of flooding and some wind and some limbs for sure.
When did you guys start preparing for this? Because it ramped up pretty quickly. We knew it was out there, but once it came in, it was a fast mover.
It did. It ramped up relatively quickly for us. So about 48 hours ago, we really started putting boots on the ground to get prepared for the storm. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, New Bern has certainly had our fair share of hurricanes. So we're well versed in how to address these.
Yeah, what was the last one you guys had? It has not been too long.
No, it hasn't been too long, but really the last one of record that everyone remembers was Hurricane Florence. And of course, we were the epicenter of that, right. Which is pure devastation here in New Bern from that storm.
Yeah, I rode that one out in Wilmington, and it wasn't as bad. You got down to New Bern, and yeah, you saw all those trees down. Speaking of trees down, any reports of power outages by you guys?
Yeah, we've had about 6,000 at the most, but we've already been able to restore some of that now. So right now we're under 4,500 without power, and crews are out on the field right now repairing that as quickly and as safely as they can.
That's excellent. You had Idalia just a few weeks ago. You had a lot of rain out of that one. Any impacts that were lingering from Idalia, and now we have Ophelia coming in?
No, I believe we were so dry that we actually needed the rain, so no lasting effects from that. But we've seen about 5 inches of rain so far with this storm, and it's still coming down pretty steady right now, and some wind gusts still lingering for sure.
Yeah, how's the rest of your day going to shape up? I know you got the rain gear on right now. You plan on going outside?
Yeah, I was out quite a bit last night. Went home about midnight and got up early this morning. But our crews do a great job. I can't give them enough credit for what they do, and they keep everyone safe.
Fantastic. What about the rest of the season? You guys still prepare for that?
Yeah, we're always prepared, Bob. But, we keep our fingers crossed, plan for the worst and hope for the best. That's what we do here in New Bern.
You guys are the greatest. I love North Carolina. Mayor of New Bern, Jeffrey Odom, thanks for being on Fox Weather with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Look at the size of those waves. You see that? That's Delaware right there.
That's exactly what you think an ocean is going to look like in a hurricane.
I mean, it's chopped up. I mean, that is intense. So you look at that wave action and you see the stuff that's behind Jane. It's completely opposite, right? And this is all choppy up. This is all like just a mixer going on right there. It's because the winds are right on shore and blowing that stuff in. Where Jane is, you have the waves that are coming in and the winds are facing it, so it shapes it even nicer. But this is just, that's scary. Look at the power of this stuff and running up the beach. That's a beach tour, no doubt about it. All right, so we've got that around Delaware. Let me show you what we're looking at with that 11 o'clock advisory. Here's where we stand right now. It came ashore, remember, early this morning at about 6:15 a.m. as it... rain. It's right around the northern end. Here's a satellite imagery, and there's actually a frontal boundary. It's right here. It's off the coastline. It's helping to stretch things out a little bit. So we've got rain as far north now as the lower part of the Hudson Valley area in New York State. You tilt this down, and you can see the way it looks. The core storms still populated right around eastern North Carolina. Now, later this afternoon, it will zip on up and puts Norfolk on the bad side. You're going to get the winds off the ocean right across Delmarva Peninsula into the Jersey Shore. Ultimately, Long Island. Jane is right here. And you can see the winds and the wave action continue to pick up as the storm moves to the north over the next few hours. Here's the rainfall. Norfolk 74, Hatter 75. A little cooler in D.C. Look at that, 62 degrees. In New York City, 57. There's your cooler air up in that region. Greenville, talking about North Carolina, flash flood warning. That's Beaufort, Craven, and Pitt counties right there. You have observed flooding going on here, and that's all freshwater flooding. That is obviously not the storm surge. That is across interior sections of North Carolina. So far, rainfall amounts have been pretty decent, but they're going to continue to pick up. We've seen as much as, at least Doppler radar indicated right here. Wow, that is the orange shaded regions. That's 3 to 5 inches of rain. Some areas, Rick had one that was over 7 inches of rain.
Yeah, I just saw one that was over 8 as well. So,
oh, you got one?
Yeah, they're getting up there. Hey, by the way, Bob, come help me out here. So you know the waves because you're a surfer.
Yeah.
So Long Island, which we've already determined is an island, and it's really long. Way out on the end of Long Island is East Hampton. And so these waves coming in here, this is probably a little bit more of an offshore wind.
Yeah, a little bit.
So the waves are coming in, but the wind is pushing out.
And it shapes it nicer.
So it shapes it nicer. So this is where people probably are wanting to surf.
Probably a little farther down. You're absolutely right. And you saw what it looked like in Delaware. Oh, you're not surfing that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So that's Long Island. This is Nahant Mass, by the way, this is just a little spit of land, comes out just to the north of Boston. I mean, like it's just right north of downtown, Revere, Boston, Revere. And then there's Nahant. So that's people out there trying to surf or do something in that water. There's no waves to surf. I don't understand why they're out there. I haven't figured that out. And this is where the storm is going to go. Latest track coming out of this has pulled it a little bit farther towards the south and offshore a little bit quicker. That would probably keep our rainfall totals down in places like New York, maybe parts of Long Island. So that might help with any flooding that we have. But all of this dip in the jet stream, you see this, it comes in off of Canada, areas of parts of Maine. That jet stream is going to eventually push this thing out to the east. It's not going to allow it keep going up the east coast. So places like Maine that saw Lee last weekend, I don't think are getting anything other than some light rain out of this. This is tonight, 7 p.m., what the rain should look like, according to our exclusive Fox model. Go towards 3 o'clock tomorrow. Notice some of these yellow areas here. We still have some heavy rain in the area. Does it set up right over New York? Hard to exactly say, but some spots likely getting that. And you see some of that even in through the overnight Sunday night in towards Monday morning. Monday morning commute, still messy from Philadelphia up towards New York. Monday afternoon, still some showers. After that, it gets out of here. But Bob, it's maybe 2 to 3 inches for a lot of people, some isolated spots, a little bit more than that. And then maybe Monday evening, fully gone.
Yeah, you know what? I think we're lucky with the Jersey City Half Marathon. We didn't get as heavy of a rain, little gusty winds, but Craig Herrera, our meteorologist here, he's out there running it, and I know he's got some wet feet, but at least he's doing it.
Yeah, running in that rain seems absolutely miserable. Like just chafing is all I can think.
I'm thinking the same thing. That and also the wind in the face. It's like you're carrying a parachute.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, no thanks indeed. But yeah, we've got that action going on. We've got new video that still keeps on coming in. Let's take a look up and down the eastern seaboard. This is Avon, North Carolina, and you can see the way it looks right here. It's beautiful. Look at the feeder bands out there. A little blue sky. Snow fences, not doing too much when you have a storm like this, but the waves are chopped up, and you see the seagrass right there blowing in the breeze also. So Avon, North Carolina, it's still a beach day. Still looks all right for me. Let me show you what we're looking at, though. Specifically, we do have the wind coming through. So here's where we're sitting at about noontime on Saturday right now. So we've got the core of the winds wrapping around the center of circulation. That's actually right over Greenville. So you have that donut that's below you and around you. Those are where your winds are going to be approaching 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts, maybe 60 at times, but it looks like it is beginning to wind down, which is good. So you pull that picture up to the north a little bit farther, and we're talking about later this afternoon. It should be parked out right there by the state line with Virginia and North Carolina. This is 6 o'clock this afternoon, and it will continue to push all the wind ahead of it on the north and the west side. So it's going to be that region there that sees the winds gusting to about 40 to 50 miles per hour. So we're not quite done with it yet. And then later on this evening, the whole thing begins to shift and move up to the north, and you start to calm things down across the lower part of North Carolina. So that's how that looks. As for the rain showers themselves, here's Virginia Beach. We got the rain peeling in this afternoon. It's going to come in waves. The heaviest stuff by far. It appears it's going to be on the western side as it moves away from you. But then you've got the rain and the showers continuing tomorrow. And it looks like it's going to finally peter out sometime Monday morning before finally all is clear. So that's the way it looks right there. All right, Fox Weather's be right back.
Hang on, Hitchcock.
we're back here on Fox Weather, your hurricane headquarters. Here we are, Ophelia, moving up the coast. Heavy rain, wind-driven rain has been the name of the game for just about everybody from North Carolina all the way up now into the Hudson Valley of New York and southern New England this Saturday. Here live as we go through the morning and through the day on Rockaway Beach, I'm meteorologist Jane Menard, watching the waves behind me as these breakers are incredible. They've been just offshore, 6 to 10 foot waves as they've been coming in. Now we're approaching high tide as we get into the afternoon. We do have high surf advisories. We have coastal flood advisories that have been posted for the south facing shores. We'll see what the flooding situation will look like. Right now with the rain that's come through, a bit of ponding and puddling that has been up and down the boardwalk. I'm sitting at about a seawall here, so there's about a 10-foot drop before we get to the beach itself and out to the water. So not really expecting to see much of the perhaps surf zone concerns up to where I'm standing, but definitely creeping up the beach. We've had patrol cars go up and down the boardwalk, making sure people are staying out of the water because it is dangerous. And we're going to continue to have team coverage here as we go through the day today, but prepare to hunker down as the storm comes in. We've had wind gusts right now out on Rockaway Beach, upwards of say 30 to 40 miles per hour. That's expected to continue to be pretty sustained through the rest of the afternoon today. That northeast wind for now, it's going to continue to wrap itself up throughout the remainder of the day. So hold on to your hats. I've already lost mine twice today. I ditched it all together, but definitely hunkering down. Rick, I'll send it to you because I know travel impacts are going to be a big one for us to watch as we go through the rest of this weekend. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I wonder, ultimately it's a good thing this is happening on a weekend, aside from the fact that your weekend's kind of a bummer, but at least we don't have so many people who need to be traveling. People don't have to be on the roads. That's probably one good part about this. Take a look. We are going to be watching delays, places from Washington, D.C. through Philly, up towards Hartford, New York, and Boston. Everybody's going to be dealing with some moderate delays throughout the day today. But you go a little bit farther north in places like Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, you're going to be fine. The storm isn't going to make its way that far inland. But delays this afternoon, delays this evening. I think we're going to see it again throughout a lot of the day tomorrow. And if you're going to get out onto the roads, especially I-95, it is going to be rainy. The roads are going to be wet. That sometimes I think we'll see some of the rain that's really heavy and it might decrease your visibility. Make sure you take an exit if you can. Don't just park yourself right out there on the side of the road because other cars won't necessarily be able to see you. So today we've got those delays. Tomorrow temps do come up a little bit, and I think overall the velocity of the rain is going to be a little bit lower, but we are going to be still having that rain in the forecast, and at times you're going to go over some of those batches of highway there that are going to be having some heavier rain. So you want to be very careful. Take it as slow as you possibly can. So we've obviously got the delays here. We've got some delays in the Central Plains that we're going to see because of severe weather today. And that out there, places like Seattle, first real big winter heavy push of moisture coming in starting tomorrow or later on today across parts of the Pacific Northwest. Bob?
Yeah, it's a season changer, right?
Yep,
Here we are, first day of fall, and right on cue, atmospheric river for sure. Yeah, thanks, Rick. Let me show you this. We've got more action out there across the tropics. Brand new named storm. Here it is. It's number 17. You can see it out there in the lower part of the Atlantic Ocean. There's Ophelia going away up to the north. 17, it's coming back too. So over the last few hours, notice the reds right here. You can see the circulation looks like it's closed itself off at the surface. We've got thunderstorms ringing around that. That's one thing we're watching. The other thing, it's that band that's out here. And notice it goes in that clockwise direction. That's because it's high pressure above the storm, and that's what you want to see if you see the thunderstorms begin to develop and then vent itself out. It turns into a high pressure region. So if you look at that, the clouds are actually going not counterclockwise, but clockwise. So where does it go from here? We do have a track on it, and it appears it's going to be a tropical depression, and that will be Philippe. That's the next named storm, and that's going to be probably tonight or tomorrow morning. 40-mile-per-hour winds. On this track, it doesn't look like it ever gets into hurricane strength. 65 is still tropical storm, but you can see where it goes. It's going to edge up to the north, and I don't think we have to worry about this one at all. But we are watching it run over some slightly warmer waters, low 80s at this point. But you can see, like Rick was saying before, the tracks of the old storms right there with that upwelled water. I mean, that is just interesting to see. No doubt about it. Rick.
All right, well, as we continue to track Ophelia, we also want to take a look at a multi-day severe weather threat. It's targeting the plains. We had the system pull in yesterday across parts of the Pacific Northwest, bringing some snow across a higher elevation. We generally get that in the month of September, but that system now ejects in towards the Central Plains and sets up a big threat for severe weather, including all three forms of that: wind, hail, and probably a tornado or two, but definitely some really significant hail today. You see where this area of low pressure kind of sets up across parts of the plains. Out ahead of that, we've got a warm front that's going to lift up along with that. And right in that zone, we are going to be looking at our biggest threat for severe weather today. Where you see that darker color, we've got very likely threat for severe weather. Anywhere in the red or in that orange color, we've got that severe weather that's going to be happening. The northern side of this is throughout the day today. We've already had some severe thunderstorm warnings that have happened since earlier this morning, and they're going on across places like Kansas and Missouri and back towards South Dakota. A little bit of localized flooding possible with that. This plays out throughout the day today into the overnight hours. Look at that very heavy rain falling across parts of Minnesota. Hail is one of our big threats, and especially where you see this little hatched area, some of that hail could be very large. The severe threat in the south happens a little bit more through the overnight hours, so you have to prepare for that. We will keep you up to date on all that and the latest on Ophelia and the tropics coming up right after this.
Fox Weather, your Hurricane HQ. I'm meteorologist Jay Menard live on Rockaway Beach in Queens, New York. New York City's got a beach, and it's right behind me, the Atlantic Ocean. Angry as these waves get churned up. The breakers 6 to 10 feet as they come ashore. We've had public officials coming up and down the boardwalk, making sure people are safe and not getting into the waters. Haven't seen anybody out here yet. A couple people walking their pups, going for a jog. Of course, we've talked to them, make sure everybody's safe. But it has just been a real nasty start to the day here, and it's all going to continue as we head through the rest of this afternoon, really the rest of this weekend, as these waves continue to climb. High tide, that's coming in a couple of hours. We'll see how everything shapes up. Coastal flood advisories are up. We also have storm surge concerns a little bit further down the coast into the Delmarva.
Big waves out there, pretty good out there in Queens. Ophelia is drenching a widespread area from the Carolinas all the way up to New York right now. North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, all issuing states of emergencies because of the storm. In cities along the I-95 corridor like Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia, up to New York, they're experiencing soaking rain, high winds, and some cases getting some flooding out there too, and some surge flooding. We've got that across the beach. This tropical storm is currently moving north, bringing a storm surge threat all the way up to the Jersey Shore. From there down to the Carolinas. Unreal. Flooding areas like Fox Weather Live starts right now. Fox Weather Live, I'm Bob Van Dillen.
And I'm Jay Minar, live here in Rockaway Beach, Queens, New York. Bob, you know, I got to tell you one thing. The waves have been getting angrier and taller by the minute. You watch them behind me as they've come ashore. No surfers that I've seen behind me. I don't know if this is the surfing beach, but Rockaway, you know, it is a part of a community that is well known for its surfing. And I'm hoping to get a surfer on later up this hour. Mike Reinhardt, he's wonderful. So hope to talk to him soon. He owns a local surf club here that's really helped kind of change the face with getting kids out there in the water and conquering the waves in Mother Nature. But that's what a lot of us are going to do as we go through the day-to-day. Wind-driven rain, some potential for flooding that continues now from really North Carolina, where we saw landfall earlier this morning of Ophelia, and then all the way up into the Hudson Valley now, southern New England, seeing the wind and rain pick up.
Have you seen the rain yourself? It looks like you're not really getting battered around too much, but how's that been?
The rain's coming in kind of a couple of waves. It's more so the wind. The rain, it hasn't been too heavy. We can definitely see some ponding and a little bit of puddling that's been here on the boardwalk, but I wouldn't say we've had a real healthy downpour yet. I'm hoping that holds off, but it's been a pretty consistent light drizzle, light rain, but when the wind kicks up, that's when it starts to feel pretty unpleasant.
Yeah, it doesn't look so nice, and it looks like you're cold out there, too. I remember when I was in Lee last weekend, it was a nice 59-degree temperature with a 40-mile-per-hour wind, so I'm imagining it doesn't feel too comfortable.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we talk about wind chill in the winter, but I'm feeling like I could talk about it right now. You're almost shivering a little bit the longer you stand out here. I think all of us, my field crew, were kind of like in between breaks, kind of huddling together, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool out here.
Yeah, I love that stuff when it comes on up. Doesn't happen very often around here, but when it does, it's pretty interesting. Thanks, Jane. We'll talk to you in a little bit. New video from Wildwood Crest. You can see the sand just blowing across the beach right here. These winds are gusting to 40 to 50 miles per hour. That was earlier this morning. Look at the sand train right there. That is unbelievable. Yeah, Wildwood Crest is getting it, no doubt about it. They're going to continue to see this action all afternoon long. And it looks like the rain's going to start piling up there also. Also, looking at a storm surge, Jersey Shore, about 1 to 3 feet. So let's not sleep on that. You're going to see a little coastal flooding and definite beach erosion. So Fox Weather is your hurricane HQ. We're following it not just in Jersey, but Norfolk Beach. They got it last night also. You can hear the wind whipping around these people, too. These poor people. It is not easy to stand. Once the winds gust to over 45 miles per hour, it's not easy to stand, and it's not sustained either. It kind of comes in shifts where you lean into it, the wind stops, you stumble, and it picks right back up again just like that. You can see the rain just nailing her, too. You feel bad. Just get out. You proved your point. It's all good. All right, where do we go from here? Let me show you what we're looking at, because we do have the tropical storm in effect. You've got more video coming in, too, as it goes all the way up and down the eastern seaboard. This is Seashore State Park in Delaware. There you go, same kind of thing. We've got the wind, we've got the rain, we've got the sand blowing around on the dunes, and you can see the seagrass. Look at that nice little stretch of sand blowing up there in a little column. That is interesting to watch, right? All right, so what about Ophelia now? What are we looking at? We got the 11 o'clock advisory, and we're still watching for 50-mile-per-hour winds. That's what it looks like here. And those winds are going to continue to race on up to the north as the storm center itself moves in that direction at roughly 13 miles per hour. So it's not moving very slowly, but it is definitely out there. It's something we're watching for the next couple of hours. So there's the heavy rain. Let me zoom into this area, too, a little bit more. I want you to look at this. We're watching the flood watches and the flash flood watches grow a little bit more around the core of the storm. Hatteras, your temperature is about 74 degrees, but the rain is still there. Norfolk, Virginia, same thing, 75. But the rain showers are kind of a little more sparse up here. Zoom into Raleigh. Here you go. It's the state capital of North Carolina. Heavy rain right there. The yellow shaded region, that is the inner part of the core, and that's the heaviest rain that we're finding, and that's coming out of Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and spinning around in that direction. We're watching this for the next few hours. Rocky Mount so far, 1.9 inches of rainfall, and that's going to be a little bit more as the morning progresses, a little bit more down in the south. Emerald Isle. That's where the storm made landfall. That was this morning at about 6:15 a.m., 6.55 inches of rain. Still coming down. The heavy stuff has shifted away from that region, the southern part of North Carolina, but you're still watching a couple more bands come through. So a little bit more rain is in store for you. Virginia Beach, 5.72. But we still have tropical storm warnings. Those are all the areas that are shaded in red right here, but they've been whittled down a little bit. So essentially, Cape Lookout down in the south, those have been expired. You get up to the north, though, you can see we're going strong around the lower part of the Chesapeake, Pamlico, the Albemarle Sound, and even all the way up to close to Ocean City. As for the winds in the last 36 hours, 72-mile-per-hour wind in Cape Lookout. That was right when it came ashore. So, yeah, it was almost hurricane strength, which is over 74 miles per hour. Tropical storm Ophelia continues to spin along the East Coast, bringing strong winds, heavy rain, and life-threatening storm surge. That's where we find our Fox Weather multimedia journalist, Brandy Campbell. She's in Cape Hatteras. She's been there all morning long, keeping an eye on the storm. Brandy, last time I saw you, had a little bit of sunshine.
Call right back.
We good, Brandy? You there?
Calling IFB back right now.
Yeah. Listen, IFB, they're pains in the neck. I got to tell you. They don't ever pick up the phone on the first try. All right, let me show you this. What are we doing? You want to go to Mount Laurel, New Jersey? All right, let's check this out. Here's some new video out of Mount Laurel. And you're getting a little bit closer inland right now. So it's not quite on the beach around Mount Laurel. It's actually where the National Weather Service is. And let's take a look where it is going. So we've got that going on right now. We've got all kinds of rain, got showers, got thunderstorms rolling up the Jersey seaboard. It's getting into New York also. We're going to, let me show you where we're watching this thing go. So we just showed you where it was. It's in North Carolina, edging into areas by Virginia. Let me show you where it's headed, because this is all important. And the track has actually changed just a little bit. Here's New Bern, North Carolina. Look at the storm surge right there. That is pretty powerful as it moves in. They're calling for 3 to 5 feet of storm surge right off their rivers right here, and also right off the Sound. So, yeah, it is mean in business. Where do we go from here? Well, let me take a look right now, because we've got storms going all the way up through Massachusetts. Look at the wind popping out here. East Hampton, you can see it right there. We've got more rain, more wind. It is going to be one of those days where it's just going to be ugly to be outside. So Tropical Storm Ophelia brings a lot of varieties, a lot of threats. We got the dangerous winds, we got the high weather, we got the high wind, and we got the storm surge. Let's break it down, show you exactly where we're going, because these storms are going to be, wow, moving on up quickly. All right, there's your live look. Where are we now? This one is, that's Mount Laurel, New Jersey. There you go. That's right by the National Weather Service. So that's outside of Philadelphia. That's in the middle part of Jersey. You got the heavy rain, and that is going to be an issue for you for the next few hours for sure, as all that rain moves on up. More storms, more of that action moving through. East Hampton, New York. Here's a live look. Surfline, I love it. Got the winds peeling off right there. Not too bad. It looks like we got a little bit of rain coming through in and out, but the heaviest rain by far has not struck into New York or Queens or anywhere around that East Hampton either. You get towards the Massachusetts, people are out there. I mean, I know you guys are starved for surfing, but I don't see any waves coming through. They're clearly bobbing up and down. You can see right here, lots of wind coming in. You can see the flag starting to move on up. These conditions are going to start going downhill for you guys shortly. So where do we go from here? We're across eastern North Carolina, right through Virginia. It's going to take it through Baltimore, but it's actually going to start slowing down in speed. In the last hour, we saw the change in the direction. It looks like it will go over right around New Jersey and then back out to the ocean, but it's not going to reform or anything like that. It's going to get picked up by a cold front on boundary and then move through. Rain around Scranton, New York, Philadelphia, State College, Baltimore, Charlottesville, and it's a Sunday morning by about 10 o'clock in the morning now to 3 o'clock. Look at that big band shaping up around Philadelphia. You can see it there, the Delaware Valley, New York City, same thing. Again, this is tomorrow. So you got NFL games going on. We got the Jets playing the Patriots. That was on Sunday afternoon. The rain is still hanging in there, not just Sunday, but through Monday morning early. So that's what we're watching here. More windy conditions coming in for Monday afternoon. So how much rain are we looking at? this yellow shaded area. If you've been noticing the last couple of hours, it's been pretty legitimate right around the northern part of Monmouth County. That's a good 3 to 5 inches of rainfall. That's especially if you're sitting there at the Jersey Shore over the next few days. If that band sets up overhead, that is where it's going to be. So that's what we're looking at with the heavy rain. Jersey Shore, New York too. And yeah, we've got that flood threat. It's a likely one. Wow. All right, let's see if we picked up the phone on Brandy Campbell. She's down there in Hatteras, North Carolina. How you doing, Brandy? Oh, you're a little close to the ocean now. You got a little beach erosion going on. How you doing out there?
You know, I've never been to the desert, but I feel like I'm in the desert with this sand blowing on me out here. But we're doing good. As you can see, I have taken off a lot of layers. The rain gear is now gone except for the rain boots. So I think that says a lot about how we're doing out here on the beach. But I do want to point out some things I am noticing. Now that I'm on the beach, I can see that we have had some erosion here along the sand dunes. So you can see these little wooden gates that they have. Well, some of them, if you look further down, you can see they're actually missing sand and kind of falling over. So that is one impact that I'm seeing just along the shore. Now, when it comes to the water behind me, well, that's still vicious. That has not given up just yet. We're still seeing some pretty big and impressive waves out there on the water. So nice to look at, but again, no one's getting in that, at least in our vicinity. That's a good thing. I have finally, for the first time in the past 5 minutes, saw somebody actually come out into the beach. So people are starting to come outside and take a look at the conditions. I think it's a little bit more enjoyable now that the wind isn't picking up the sand as much, because prior to, the past couple of hours, it was pretty consistent wind and sand, very uncomfortable. Now, when it comes to that wind, let's talk about the wind speeds. Not as hectic, again, as we had all yesterday and earlier this morning. So right now, it's been kind of going up and down today. See, my ammonometer barely picking up 10. So it's really going up and down. So that's the good news. Now, I want to talk about the roads. We are off of the main highway, and of course, it's starting to rain on me now as I've taken off my rain gear. But anyway, we're off of Highway 12, and the Department of Transportation for North Carolina did say they were worried about, with the wind direction shifting from this storm, they're worried about some flooding coming from the sound side. I did meet a couple that did take on the roads yesterday during the storm when it was really starting to intensify, and they just described to me when I spoke to them what it was like yesterday. Listen up.
Quite rainy and windy, and coming through right Anthony, the sand was blowing sideways, couldn't see nothing.
Across the bridge, I was holding on to the car handle. I was a little nervous.
A little rocky?
Yeah, a little rocky. And then I seen the sea foam come up over the sand dunes. So I was like, that's sea foam, and then there was a sandstorm. I recorded it. It was crazy.
What was going through your mind at that point?
What has my husband got me into on my anniversary?
But I just need...
All right, now what's even more interesting is what actually happened as they were driving through it. Take a listen to what that was like for them and what it looked like too.
Wow.
All right. Okay, maybe we don't have that video for you guys, but I can assure you it looked like whiteout conditions for them just by how much sand was kicked up on the road. So that was a pretty crazy drive for them, but as you can see, they did make it here safely, and they're going to try to go fishing tomorrow.
Cool.
Bob?
I'm still looking at your wind gusting at Hatteras, 45 miles per hour. I mean, it's coming in gusts for sure, but that was the last hour. So,
Yeah,
Brandy, good
exactly.
job out there. Put on the rain gear because you're not quite over
Thank
yet,
you.
I don't think.
I know. Yeah, I'm getting sprinkles now. I'm like, come on.
There you go, I know. We'll check back in with you a little bit later on. Thanks, Brady. Appreciate you. All right, it's a rainy, gusty day all the way up down the I-95 corridor. We'll check in with travel conditions for this weekend, and we got some football games going on now, too. We'll talk all about that in just a little bit. All right, check this out. A new video coming in from the Virginia Coast Guard. This came to rescue 5 people on board a 38-foot catamaran. The vessel actually got caught in Tropical Storm Ophelia making its journey along the East Coast. The rescue happened on Friday night in Cape Lookout, North Carolina. The owner of the sailing vessel, oh man, it was called the Wonderful Life, used a cell phone to call the Coast Guard. All the passengers on board were wearing life jackets, thank goodness. And 3 of them were children ages 10, 7, and 4. Wow, they were out there in a catamaran in that kind of weather. Not a good idea, but at least they were wearing all their safety gear. Rescue last night during almost the height of Tropical Storm Ophelia right there by Cape Lookout. Unreal. Great job, you guys. Excellent. All right, you can expect some travel delays across the region today. It's obviously all going to be wrapped up with the clouds, the wind, and the rain moving in. Poor visibility, gusty winds. Here's a live look at Philadelphia International Airport right here. There are winds expected to be about 20 to 30 miles per hour later this afternoon, and probably going to climb up from there as well. So Philadelphia, be prepared for delays. I know it's the weekend. It's good. You don't have as much travel going on a Saturday afternoon as you would on a Friday or a Sunday evening, but still you're going to see some issues out there. Also, Washington, D.C., this camera has gone downhill. That's a live look right there. The Jefferson Memorial, you can see the tidal basin right here. The rain is going to be heavy at times, and we're going to see this for the next few hours as rain band after rain band comes on up. We're watching that region right here. Then you look over here, you can see the way it looks with the air travel stats. 3,000 flights that are up there. Total delays so far, almost half of them. You can see 1496. Cancellations, 76. And where do you think they're going to be? Most likely, you're talking about New York with your delays, Orlando too, Philadelphia, you're out there, Newark, LaGuardia, Boston. All be prepared for some delays. Philadelphia, JFK, LaGuardia, all those are going to be issues for the next several hours for sure. Top airline delays, it's going to be Southwest today, United. Showers are going to be coming in. Winds out of the north to northeast. It's never a good direction for you, so you're going to see the delays mount here. Philadelphia, yeah, wind gusts. You can see mostly along the shoreline, Outer Banks, and another band coming in across the Jersey Shore. You see the winds right there gusting about 40, even 50 miles per hour at times. JFK, delayed. 112 of you so far canceled, only 8. Orlando, 59. Philadelphia, delayed 53. In Atlanta, you can see 48 delays so far. Canceled, only 5. Not that bad. Rainfall for the Northeast, all the yellows. Unfortunately, I think they're going to start turning into red, mainly in the afternoon hours. Newark, LaGuardia, JFK, even up to Boston, you're going to see that. But so far, just minor delays, some delays out there. Philadelphia, but here you go. Baltimore, obviously, it's coming up from the south. You're getting it first. Look at that big band of rain that's going to head through later this afternoon. Reagan National, you're going to get it also. Same with Dulles. You're going to find some air travel delays. Rest of the country, we got some rough weather right across the middle part of the country. Minneapolis, all the way down to MCI. You're talking about Kansas City, even around St. Louis, you're going to see some big delays as a possibility with gusty winds and maybe some heavy downpours. You're going to find that later today. That's definitely going to be an issue across the middle part of the country, just away from our tropical storm. Wow, so we've got plenty of stuff going. All right, we will be with you all the way through the storm with a network of live cameras. Many of these shots are being provided by our Fox Weather exclusive storm tracker, Mark Sudduth. And Mark joins me now from North Carolina. And Mark, you were in Washington before. Where are you right now? You're still
in Washington. I like that shot there from New Bern, showing the water levels coming down in New Bern. Same thing here in Washington. You can see behind me, water levels were up a few feet a couple of hours ago when we last talked to you. Now water levels are coming down as the wind stress off the Pamlico River there from Ophelia is becoming less. So gravity is taking back over, and the water levels are starting to come back down here in Washington, North Carolina.
We're looking at that. That's the storm surge of saltwater stuff. You had some fresh water, a lot of rain come down over a few inches. You think that's going to just make it a little bit worse so it doesn't drain as quickly?
Yeah, that's right. Certainly that much rainfall on top of that surge coming in helps to clog up the drains more and add more stress to the system as a whole. But not the worst of the situation out here that they've ever seen. Florence, back in 2018, they said was a little bit worse than this. We talked to a gentleman that manages some property here off to my right. He said this is the worst that he has seen, but he's only been out here for about 3 years. So, Florence, of course, 2018, it's all about perception and history in terms of what people perceive as being the worst or what the impacts might be. A lot of people weren't expecting this, but here it is nevertheless. Busy afternoon Saturday and then throughout the day tomorrow, Sunday, of people cleaning up after Ophelia out here.
Wow. So you were there in 1999, right? So that was the thing that comes to my mind is Hurricane Floyd when I was working in Charlotte.
Yes.
That was one of the worst ones. Were you there for that one?
Yes. So Floyd, at the very beginning years of my career, that of course was a big rainmaker. And we had Dennis before that sort of set the stage from all that rain from Floyd. And we had a big overland surge of fresh water. And of course, this event here, a sort of a textbook example, and we're going to be doing some time lapses to really show this, of storm surge from the Pamlico Sound and the river systems. We see that not just from the ocean, but the rivers and lakes, storm surge model, the sea, land, and overland surge of hurricanes, or something like the slosh model is what I'm trying to talk about.
Yep.
It's not just from the ocean. And this is another learning situation here, showing people that, yeah, absolutely, the sounds and the rivers can produce storm surges. Just got to keep people remembering that as more people move to beautiful North Carolina in the future.
It is amazing, right? It's all about the wind direction, too, coming right up the gut of the river, and it pushes it right in on you. What you got going on over there?
Exactly. People are, luckily, they're that side of me. Somebody drove by with an air horn.
Oh, nice.
Classic.
I was going to ask you this, too. You've got an array of cameras out there for this storm. You've never lost a camera yet, right? We're still working on a clean slate?
Oh, no. They're meant to be lost. We don't want to lose meat. Obviously, that goes without saying. And so the cameras are inexpensive enough to put them in places. If we do lose them, that's just par for the course. We don't try to do it on purpose, but we want to put them where I shouldn't be, and we get that point of view that we just can't capture any other way. And Florence was a great example of that. 2018 in New Bern had a camera down at Union Point, and the water came up 10 feet, covering that camera, and it gave the National Hurricane Center a real-time view of their storm surge forecast. It verified in front of their eyes. There's no other way to do it than using the technology of these remote cams. And if we lose them, we'll just buy another.
That is beautiful. And we appreciate that you do it for us, too, Mark Soda. Thank you very much. Stay dry out there and get away from the nuts that are driving by you, too. Gosh.
Yeah, that's the hardest part of this. The hurricanes we can usually deal with. The people, we can't really see them on radar now, can we?
At least you're not in Florida like I was. That was fun.
I understand that. Yeah.
Right,
hey, good to be here as always. Thank you.
Man, we'll check in with you. I appreciate it. All right, let's check in with the rest of the tropics right now. And we do have more rain, more heavy downpours. That is near, you can see Hatteras through Norfolk. You've got heavy downpours right there. The whole thing is going to be moving up to the north. So that's Ophelia. What about tropical depression number 17? That just formed early this morning, so it's kind of some breaking news for you right now. You can see the tropical depression is located right about here. Look at the thunderstorms in the inner core. Also, notice the cloud cover. You see the outflow boundary, the outflow, I should say, on the top, looking pretty good. We don't see much in the way of shear. Some drier air working in from the west and getting thrown in from the south. So not quite as healthy on the bottom side, with a little bit of sheer, a little drier air, but we do have a cone on it now since it's a tropical depression. It's number 17. The good news is, look at this nice slice off the T-box. I mean, this is going to go nice and straight and then bend up to the north as there's a trough of low pressure. Essentially, I'm going to draw it in as a cold front. It's not really a cold front. It's just kind of a trough, but it's going to pick it up and move it away from any set of landmass. So that includes the Lesser Antilles. It includes the U.S. Virgin Islands, British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. You might get some waves out of it, but also notice the strength. Not going to do any rapid intensification. At least that's not the forecast at this point. Still by next Thursday, this coming Thursday, 65-mile-per-hour wind. So it's a strong tropical storm, but not quite a hurricane. Here's what we're looking at. Water temperatures are in the 80s. We're looking at some thunderstorms around the middle part of the circulation. Here's the water temperature, and it's so interesting to see this. Where's the hottest water? It's right around where it's being formed, and there's also a lot of warm weather up to the northern part of the Atlantic. But notice, though, this is the track of a couple of hurricanes that went by. Lee was the last one. Lee went right up the Bay of Fundy, right up here, and you can see the colder water left in its wake. But also, I want you to look at exactly where the Gulf Stream is. It's at warmer water, and it's a thin stripe as it moves away from the Outer Banks and then empties up into the northern part of the Atlantic. This storm itself looks like it's going to steer away from the Gulf Stream, which is the exact opposite of what Ophelia just did. Once it hit the Gulf Stream, it blew up into a strong tropical storm in just a matter of a couple of hours. So we've got that. Here's what it looks like with the exclusive Fox model. It appears it's going to be a rain mass and getting into some shear. So the shear it's battling is going to keep it down across the tropical depression stage today. Tropical storm tomorrow, gradually easing into a stronger tropical storm. And again, the next name is going to be Tropical Storm Philippe. That's what we're talking about. All right, here we go. Look at that. You can see the humidity is out there too. Rain, thunderstorms, low wind shear, high moisture, and warm waters. You've got it all for this storm, and that's the way it's going to look right there. So we're tracking 17. Not too worried about it at this point, but it's always interesting to see where we are when it comes to our tropical storms that are out there for the Atlantic. Remember, hurricane season, we are your hurricane HQ. It goes until November 30, so we will peg everything that's out there, whether it's going to affect anybody or not. Let me show you this. Northern Plains, severe thunderstorms. We've got a couple of warnings out there, one for Iowa, and we've got one for Missouri. So we've got the thunderstorms that are breaking out. There's a cold front that's dropping down later today. Look at Kansas City, 86 degrees. Des Moines, 79. Minneapolis, 72.